Commander Vextar stared at the blue dot on his screen. His long fingers moved across the control panel as he zoomed in on the small planet. Earth, they called it. A simple world orbiting a yellow star in the outer edge of the galaxy. Sir, the scan results are complete, said Lieutenant Zara. She was a Corellian warrior with purple skin and sharp teeth. Her species had joined the Coalition 50 years ago after a brief war. Now they served as some of the Coalition's best soldiers. Vextar looked at the data. The humans on this planet had only recently learned to leave their world. Their ships were slow and ugly. Their weapons used old technology that the Coalition had stopped using thousands of years ago. These humans still burned chemicals to power their rockets. They still used nuclear bombs as their strongest weapons. How many of them are there? Vextar asked. About 8 billion, Zara replied. They live on one planet and a few small stations, around their moon. They fight each other often. Their world is damaged from pollution and war. Vextar smiled. This would be easy. The Coalition had taken control of hundreds of worlds like this. Young species always fought the same way. First, they would try to resist. Then they would surrender when they saw how powerful the Coalition was. After that, they would work for the Coalition and provide resources and soldiers. Admiral Korthdan will be pleased, Vextar said. This looks like a perfect training mission for our new recruits. The Coalition was made up of 12 different alien species. They controlled most of this part of the galaxy. Their ships were fast and strong. Their weapons could destroy entire planets. Most young species joined them willingly after seeing a demonstration of their power. Vextar walked to the main viewing screen. His ship, the Eternal Dominion, was one of the Coalition's newest science vessels. It was 3 kilometers long and carried enough firepower to defeat most planetary defense forces. Behind him, his crew worked at their stations. They came from 6 different species, but they all served the Coalition faithfully. Sir, there's something strange, said Ensign Tak, a small blue alien with large eyes. Some of our deep space probes near their system have stopped working. Equipment failure? Vextar asked. Maybe, but it's happened 5 times in the last month. The probes work fine until they get close to their solar system. Then they just stop sending signals. Vextar thought about this. Equipment did fail sometimes, especially on long missions, but 5 failures in 1 month seemed like too many. Still, human technology was so primitive that they probably couldn't even detect the probes, let alone stop them. Send more probes, he ordered. Different routes this time. We need complete scans of their defenses before Admiral Korthdan arrives. Lieutenant Zara pulled up more data about Earth. Sir, look at this. They have several space stations around their planet, but the energy readings are weird. Vextar looked at the numbers. The human space stations did seem to put out more energy than they should, but human technology was probably just inefficient. Young species always wasted energy because they didn't know better. They're probably just bad at building things, he said. What about their military? Very weak, sir. They have small ships with primitive weapons. Their largest warship is smaller than our shuttle. They use simple missiles and energy weapons that couldn't even scratch our armor. This made Vextar happy. Easy conquests were good for morale. The Coalition's soldiers needed victories to stay confident. A quick win against the humans would remind everyone why the Coalition was so powerful. Any signs of other alien contact? Vextar asked. No, sir. They seem to be completely alone. No evidence of advanced technology or outside help. They're exactly what they appear to be, a young species that just learned to travel in space. Vextar nodded. He sent a message to Admiral Korthdan explaining what they had found. The humans were perfect targets, weak enough to defeat easily, but advanced enough to be useful workers. Their planet had good resources, and their population was large enough to provide plenty of soldiers for the Coalition army. The reply came back quickly. Admiral Korthdan was pleased. He would arrive in 2 weeks with a small fleet. This would be a simple operation. Make contact, demonstrate power, accept surrender, and integrate the humans into the Coalition. Standard procedure. But as Vextar prepared his ship for the Admiral's arrival, strange reports kept coming in. More probes failed near Earth. Some crew members reported bad dreams about mechanical monsters hiding in space. The ship's computer systems occasionally showed energy readings that didn't match anything they knew about. Vextar dismissed these concerns. Space travel was stressful, and crew members often had strange dreams on long missions. Equipment glitches happened all the time. The energy readings were probably just interference from Earth's primitive radio signals. He was sure that in 2 weeks, Earth would be another easy victory for the Coalition. The humans would surrender quickly once they saw real space military power. Then they would join the hundreds of other species working for the Coalition's glory. Vextar had no idea that everything he thought he knew about Earth was wrong. He didn't know that his probes weren't failing. They were being captured and studied. He didn't know that the energy readings were tests of technology far beyond anything the Coalition possessed. Most importantly, he didn't know that the humans had been watching the Coalition for over 50 years, learning everything about their weapons, their tactics, and their weaknesses. The blue dot on his screen looked peaceful and helpless. But Earth was the most dangerous thing the Coalition had ever encountered. They just didn't know it yet. Admiral Korthodon's fleet arrived at the edge of Earth's solar system exactly on schedule. 3 massive ships emerged from hyperspace with flashes of blue light. The lead vessel was 5 kilometers long and bristled with weapons. The other 2 were smaller but still larger than anything humans had ever built. "Send the standard first contact message," Admiral Korthodon ordered. He was a tall, gray-skinned alien with 4 arms and glowing red eyes. His species, the Nexari, had been the first to create the Coalition. They were proud of their role as leaders and conquerors. The message went out in multiple languages, explaining that the Coalition offered protection and membership to all intelligent species. It was a polite way of saying, "Surrender now or be destroyed later." The response came back much faster than expected. A clear signal in perfect Coalition standard language reached their ships within minutes. "Greetings, honored visitors," said a human voice. "I am Ambassador Sarah Chen, representing the United Earth Defense Council. We welcome this opportunity for peaceful contact between our civilizations." Admiral Korthodon was surprised. Most primitive species took days to organize any kind of response. They usually panicked first, then spent time arguing among themselves about what to do. But these humans had formed a defense council and selected an ambassador in just a few hours. "Interesting," he said to Commander Vextar. "They're more organized than expected." On the main screen, Ambassador Chen appeared as a hologram. She was a middle-aged human woman with black hair and intelligent eyes. She looked nervous, which was normal for first contact situations. But there was something about her manner that seemed practiced, as if she had done this before. "We are honored by your visit," she continued. "Earth hopes to learn from the wisdom of more advanced civilizations. We understand you represent a great alliance of species." Admiral Korthodon smiled. The human knew exactly the right things to say. She was respectful but not terrified, impressed but not overwhelmed. It was almost like she had studied Coalition diplomatic protocols. "Indeed," the Admiral replied. "The Coalition offers friendship, protection, and advancement to all peaceful species. We hope Earth will consider joining our great alliance." As they spoke, alerts began coming in from across the solar system. Human military forces were mobilizing. Ships launched from hidden bases on their moon and on Mars. Orbital platforms powered up around Earth. A small fleet of warships took defensive positions between Earth and the Coalition fleet. Lieutenant Zara laughed when she saw the tactical display. "Sir, look at their fleet. Their biggest ship is barely 100 meters long. Our shuttles are bigger than their warships." The human defense formation was clumsy and obvious. Their ships moved slowly and their weapons were clearly outdated. Energy readings showed that their most powerful laser couldn't penetrate even light. Coalition armor. Their missiles were slow and easy to intercept. "Should we disable them now, sir?" Zara asked. "It would only take a few minutes." "Not yet," Admiral Korthodon replied. "Let them try to look impressive. It will make their surrender more meaningful." Ambassador Chen continued the conversation, as if unaware of how outmatched her forces were. "We have prepared a meeting facility where our representatives can discuss Earth's future. It's a neutral space station that we constructed for this purpose. The space station appeared on their scopes an hour later. It was surprisingly well built for such a young species. The structure was large and complex, with multiple docking bays and defensive systems. But the defenses were obviously ceremonial. Pretty lights and energy fields that looked impressive but couldn't stop real weapons. "Clever," Commander Vextar said. "They're trying to show off their best technology to make us think they're more advanced than they are." During the negotiations, the humans seemed willing to discuss almost anything. They talked about resource sharing, cultural exchange, and even military cooperation. They acted like they had choices in the matter, which was amusing. But they were polite and reasonable, unlike some species that fought uselessly before surrendering. However strange, things kept happening around the human space station. Coalition reconnaissance drones malfunctioned when they got too close. Communication arrays experienced interference that their technicians couldn't explain. Several crew members reported disturbing dreams about vast machines hiding in the darkness. Ensign Talk was monitoring communications when he noticed something odd. "Sir, the humans are using quantum encryption for their internal messages. That's advanced technology for a species this young." "Maybe they developed it recently," Vextar suggested. "Some species advance quickly in certain areas." But when Talk analyzed the encryption patterns, he found something troubling. "Sir, this encryption is based on mathematical principles that we only discovered 50 years ago. How could they have developed the same system independently, Admiral?" Korthdan dismissed the concern. "Convergent evolution. Similar problems lead to similar solutions. These humans are probably just naturally good at mathematics." The negotiations continued for 3 days. The humans asked many questions about coalition technology, military structure, and diplomatic procedures. They seemed genuinely curious about how the coalition operated. They wanted to know about other member species, trade routes, and defense strategies. Ambassador Chen was particularly interested in coalition history. "How did your alliance grow so large?" she asked. "What methods do you use to integrate new species? How do you handle conflicts between members?" These seemed like reasonable questions from a species considering membership. But some of the questions were very specific, almost like the humans were studying coalition weaknesses rather than just learning about their new allies. On the 3rd day, the negotiations hit a snag. The humans wanted to establish cultural preservation zones where they could maintain their own traditions and government. They also wanted guarantees about maintaining their military forces and controlling their own space. Admiral Korthdan was patient, but firm. "The coalition provides all necessary protection and guidance. Member species don't need their own military forces. Local governments are allowed, but they must follow coalition law." Ambassador Chen looked disappointed, but not surprised. "We understand your position. However, Earth needs time to consider such important changes. Could we have a few days to discuss this with our leadership?" "Of course," the Admiral replied. "But remember that the coalition's protection comes with responsibilities. We hope Earth will make the wise choice." As the human delegation returned to their planet, Admiral Korthdan prepared for the next phase. If the humans refused to join willingly, he would need to demonstrate coalition power. A small military action would convince them to surrender quickly. But that night, more crew members reported strange dreams. They dreamed of Earth's surface peeling away like a disguise. They saw mechanical structures underneath the planet's crust. They saw weapons that violated the laws of physics and ships that moved through space in impossible ways. Commander Vextar dismissed these reports as stress-related hallucinations. Space battles made everyone nervous, even experienced soldiers. The dreams didn't mean anything. He was wrong. The dreams were memories leaking through from captured coalition crew members who had been taken years ago during probe malfunctions. The humans had been studying coalition psychology and biology for decades. The dreams were a side effect of advanced mental scanning technology that the coalition couldn't even detect. As Admiral Korthdan planned his demonstration of power, he had no idea that every move his fleet made was being recorded and analyzed by technology far beyond coalition understanding. The humans weren't just considering surrender. They were preparing to reveal who they really were. When Earth's leaders asked for more time to consider coalition membership, Admiral Korthdan decided to help them understand their situation. A small military demonstration would show the humans that resistance was hopeless. It was a standard tactic that worked on most species. Deploy 3 destroyers to the Jupiter region, he ordered. There's a small human patrol fleet there. Disable their ships and capture a few prisoners, nothing permanent, just enough to show them our capabilities. Lieutenant Zara volunteered to lead the mission. Her ship, the Blade of Victory, was a coalition destroyer designed for exactly this kind of operation. It was fast, well-armed, and carried advanced boarding equipment for capturing enemy vessels intact. The human patrol consisted of 4 small ships orbiting Jupiter's largest moon. They were clearly military vessels, but they looked like toys compared to coalition warships. Their armor was thin, their weapons were primitive, and their shields flickered weakly around their hulls. This will be easier than a training exercise, Zara told her crew as they approached. Remember, we want prisoners, not wreckage. Disable their engines and weapons, then board them quickly. The battle began exactly as expected. The human ships detected the coalition approach and moved to intercept, but their formation was clumsy and predictable. Their weapons fired first, energy beams and missiles that barely registered on coalition shields. Return fire, Zara ordered. Precision shots only. Target their engines and weapon systems. Coalition weapons were devastatingly effective. Within minutes, 3 of the 4 human ships were disabled and drifting. Their hulls were cracked, their weapons were destroyed, and their engines were offline. The 4th ship tried to run but was too slow to escape. Prepare boarding parties, Zara commanded. Secure the crew and gather intelligence about their technology. But as the coalition troops approached the disabled ships, something unexpected happened. Instead of panicking or surrendering, the human crews began activating what looked like self-destruct systems. This wasn't unusual. Many species chose to die rather than be captured. But these weren't suicide attacks. The explosions were controlled and precise. Instead of destroying the ships completely, they created strange energy pulses that didn't match any known technology. The explosions generated gravitational waves that briefly warped space around the damaged vessels. For a few seconds, coalition sensors detected energy readings that shouldn't have been possible. What was that? Zara demanded. How did primitive nuclear reactors create those energy signatures? Her science officer, a thin green alien named Plix, studied the readings with confusion. I don't know, sir. The energy output was 50 times higher than their reactors should be capable of producing, and these gravitational effects, we've never seen anything like this. More disturbing were the captured human crew members. Coalition boarding parties managed to secure several prisoners from the 4th ship before it could self-destruct. Under interrogation, these humans behaved very strangely. They showed no fear of their captors. They answered questions politely but revealed nothing useful about Earth's defenses or technology. When asked about military secrets, they just smiled and said they weren't authorized to discuss such matters. They acted like prisoners of war who expected to be rescued or exchanged, not conquered primitives facing slavery. Most troubling of all, the human prisoners knew things they shouldn't know. They correctly identified the species of their interrogators. They knew the names and specifications of coalition ship classes. One prisoner even mentioned classified coalition weapon systems that were supposed to be secret. How do you know about Nexari plasma cannons? Zara asked one prisoner, a young human officer named Captain Torres. We've had time to study your technology, Torres replied calmly. Earth believes in being prepared for first contact situations. Prepared how? You've never met alien species before, Torres smiled. Haven't we? That answer sent chills through the coalition crew. If humans had met other aliens before, why was this first contact proceeding as if they were a newly discovered species? What weren't they telling the coalition? Back on the command ship, Admiral Korthdan reviewed the battle reports with growing unease. The military engagement had gone exactly as planned, but the details didn't make sense. Human technology was definitely primitive, but the energy readings from their destroyed ships suggested they were using power sources far more advanced than anything they had shown. Commander Vextar brought more disturbing news. Sir, our intelligence division has been analyzing the probe failures we've experienced near Earth. They weren't random equipment malfunctions. Explain. Each probe transmitted a massive amount of data back toward Earth before going silent. Someone was downloading our sensor readings, navigation data, and communication protocols. They've been studying us for months. Admiral Korthdan felt a cold sensation in his stomach. That's impossible. Human technology can't intercept our transmissions, let alone download data from our probes. That's what we thought, sir. But the evidence is clear. Every probe we sent to scout their system was compromised. They know everything about our ships, our weapons, and our tactical procedures. The situation got worse when Lieutenant Zara returned from the Jupiter engagement. She reported that her crew was experiencing severe psychological effects. Half her soldiers were having nightmares about mechanical monsters. Her navigation officer claimed to see ships in space that weren't there. Even Zara herself felt like she was being watched whenever she looked at long-range sensor displays. It's just stress from the battle, Admiral Korthdan insisted. Combat situations affect everyone differently. But deep down he was beginning to suspect that something was very wrong with this mission. Earth was supposed to be a simple conquest, but nothing about the humans made sense. Their technology was primitive, but they showed signs of capabilities far beyond what primitives should possess. They acted like a newly discovered species, but they knew too much about Coalition operations. That night, as the Coalition fleet prepared for full invasion, strange energy readings appeared throughout human space. Deep space monitoring stations detected gravitational anomalies that matched theoretical predictions for technology centuries ahead of anything in Coalition arsenals. The readings appeared briefly and then vanished, as if someone was testing systems that existed beyond current understanding of physics. Ensign Tok was monitoring communications when he intercepted a fragment of human transmission. It was heavily encrypted, but Coalition computers managed to decode part of it. What they found was terrifying. The message contained detailed technical specifications for Coalition ship designs, weapon systems, and defensive capabilities. It included tactical assessments of Coalition military doctrine and strategic evaluations of their expansion patterns. Most shocking of all, it was dated 3 years ago, long before the Coalition had any contact with Earth. Sir, Tok reported, with a shaking voice, the humans have been studying us for years. They know everything about us. Admiral Korthdan stared at the decoded message. If this was authentic, then everything about this first contact was a lie. The humans weren't a primitive species encountering aliens for the first time. They were a hidden civilization that had been watching the Coalition for years, learning their secrets and preparing for this moment. But that was impossible. Coalition sensors would have detected any advanced civilization in this region of space. Their spy networks would have found evidence of hidden colonies or advanced technology. No species could hide from the Coalition for years without being discovered, unless their technology was so far beyond Coalition capabilities that they could remain completely hidden while conducting extensive surveillance operations. Unless the Coalition had been blindly flying through space monitored by entities they couldn't even detect. As these thoughts crossed his mind, Admiral Korthdan realized that his fleet might not be conducting a conquest mission. They might be walking into a trap set by beings who understood Coalition capabilities better than the Coalition understood their own. Admiral Korthdan couldn't sleep. The evidence was piling up in ways that made no sense. Every new discovery about the humans contradicted what they should be capable of. He ordered his intelligence teams to work around the clock, digging deeper into every piece of data they had collected about Earth. What they found defied all logic. Commander Vextar brought the first shocking discovery. Sir, we've analyzed human computer systems from the captured ship. They contain quantum processing cores that shouldn't be possible without exotic matter manipulation. What kind of exotic matter? The Admiral asked. The theoretical kind, sir. Matter that exists in dimensions we can barely detect. The Coalition's best scientists have been trying to create stable exotic matter for centuries. These humans seem to have mastered it completely. The discoveries kept coming. Human nuclear, Reactors showed signs of zero-point energy extraction. Their communication arrays demonstrated mastery of dimensional fold technology. Even their basic life support systems used principles that Coalition science considered purely theoretical. But the breakthrough came when Coalition cryptographers finally cracked an ancient human transmission they had intercepted months ago. The signal was old, much older than it should have been if humans had only recently discovered space travel. Ensign Talk brought the decoded message to Admiral Korthdan with trembling hands. "Sir, you need to see this. The transmission is dated 15 years ago, but it contains complete specifications for our ship designs." The Admiral read the message in growing horror. It included detailed schematics of Coalition destroyers, technical, manuals for their weapon systems, and strategic assessments of their military capabilities. Everything was accurate down to the smallest detail. But the message was sent years before the Coalition had any known contact with human space. "This is impossible," Admiral Korthdan said. "How could they have obtained this information?" The message ended with coordinates, a location in empty space where Coalition sensors detected nothing unusual. But the Admiral knew he had to investigate. He ordered Commander Vextar to take a stealth reconnaissance ship to those coordinates and discover what was hidden there. Vextar's ship, the Silent Observer, was designed for covert operations. It could hide from most detection systems while conducting detailed scans of enemy positions. As they approached the coordinates, everything seemed normal. Empty space with a few distant stars. Then Vextar's science officer made an impossible discovery. "Sir, there's something here. A massive artificial structure hidden behind gravitational lensing technology. It's making the space around it appear empty." "How large?" Vextar asked. "At least 50 kilometers across, sir. Maybe larger. The gravitational distortion is so advanced that our sensors can barely detect it." Vextar ordered his ship to move closer. As they penetrated the concealment field, the true structure became visible. It was enormous, a space station that dwarfed Coalition cities. The design was clearly human, but it operated on principles that made Coalition technology look primitive. "Sir," his communications officer reported, "we're receiving a transmission from the structure. They're inviting us to dock." Vextar knew this was dangerous, but he had to learn the truth. His ship docked with the massive station, and he led a small team inside. What they found changed everything he thought he knew about humanity. The station was filled with humans working at technology beyond Coalition understanding. They weren't surprised to see Coalition visitors. They had been expecting them. A human administrator named Dr. Marcus Webb greeted Vextar's team and calmly began explaining the truth. "Welcome to Research Station Prometheus," Dr. Webb said. "We've been monitoring your fleet since you entered this star system. Actually, we've been monitoring the Coalition for quite some time." "How long?" Vextar demanded. "About 53 years now. We first detected Coalition expansion into this region of the galaxy and decided to study you before making contact." Dr. Webb led them through the station, showing them laboratories where human scientists worked with technology that violated Coalition physics. He showed them manufacturing facilities producing materials that shouldn't exist. Most shocking of all, he showed them archives containing detailed information about every major alien civilization in the galaxy. "You see, Commander," Dr. Webb explained, "humanity has been spacefaring for over 2 centuries, not 2 decades. We've established a vast network of hidden colonies and research stations throughout the galaxy. What you saw around Earth was an elaborate performance designed to study alien first contact procedures." Vextar felt sick. "You've been lying to us from the beginning. We've been learning from you. The Coalition's expansion patterns, military tactics, and diplomatic strategies have all been under observation. We needed to understand how you operate before revealing ourselves." The worst revelation came when Dr. Webb showed them the human intelligence archives. Humanity had been systematically infiltrating every major alien power in the galaxy. Human agents had served aboard Coalition ships. Human scientists had contributed to Coalition research projects. Human strategists had influenced Coalition military doctrine. Every piece of technology the Coalition considers advanced we mastered decades ago," Dr. Webb said. "We then chose to improve it beyond recognition. Your invincible fleet is using weapons and defense systems that we helped design." Vextar looked at the impossible technology surrounding him. Ships that could fold spacetime, weapons that manipulated fundamental forces, manufacturing systems that created matter from pure energy. The Coalition wasn't just outmatched. They were operating in a completely different category of technological development. "Why?" he asked. "Why reveal this now?" Dr. Webb's expression became serious. "Because we've detected something approaching from beyond the galactic rim, something that makes our little deception irrelevant. The galaxy needs unity to face what's coming." He showed them long-range sensor data that made Vextar's blood run cold. Massive artificial structures were moving through intergalactic space toward their galaxy. The energy signatures suggested technology that made even human capabilities look primitive. "We estimate they'll arrive in approximately 50 years, Dr. Webb said. "We need to prepare the galaxy's civilizations for what may be the greatest threat any of us have ever faced." As Vextar transmitted this information back to Admiral Korthdan, he realized that the Coalition's attempted conquest of Earth had become something entirely different. They weren't facing a primitive species they could easily defeat. They were dealing with a civilization that had been studying them for decades and possessed technology that could reshape the laws of physics. The humans hadn't just deceived the Coalition. They had demonstrated a level of strategic thinking that spanned centuries. Every human the Coalition had ever encountered, every piece of technology they had observed, every diplomatic exchange had been part of an elaborate intelligence operation. Admiral Korthdan received Vextar's report in stunned silence. His mighty fleet, which had seemed so powerful when approaching Earth, was now revealed to be hopelessly outmatched. The humans could have destroyed them at any time. Instead, they had chosen to study them, learn from them, and ultimately prepare them for a greater threat. As he processed this information, a new transmission arrived from Earth. Ambassador Sarah Chen appeared on his screen, but her nervous demeanor was completely gone. In its place was the confident bearing of someone who had been playing a much deeper game all along. "Admiral Korthdan," she said, "we believe it's time for honest communication between our civilizations. Please stand by for a proper demonstration of human capabilities." The Admiral realized that everything was about to change. The Coalition's age of expansion and conquest was ending. In its place, a new era was beginning. One where humanity would lead the galaxy's preparation for threats beyond imagination. The space around Earth began to change in ways that defied Admiral Korthdan's understanding of physics. What had looked like simple orbital platforms suddenly unfolded into massive defense networks that stretched across thousands of kilometers. Each structure was larger than Coalition cities and bristled with weapons that operated on principles beyond his comprehension. "Sir," Lieutenant Zara reported with a shaking voice, "the human moon is splitting apart." Admiral Korthdan watched, in amazement as Earth's moon revealed itself to be an artificial construct. The rocky surface peeled away like a shell, exposing the vast industrial complex hidden inside. Manufacturing facilities that could build entire fleets appeared where there had once been simple craters. Shipyards containing vessels larger than Coalition dreadnoughts emerged from concealed bays. But the most shocking transformation was Earth itself. The planet's surface began to shift and reconfigure as massive mechanical systems rose from beneath what had appeared to be natural geological features. Mountain ranges revealed themselves as weapon emplacements. Ocean basins drained to expose construction facilities where impossible ships waited in organized rows. "How is this possible?" Admiral Korthdan whispered. His answer came as his fleet suddenly found itself surrounded. Human vessels materialized from nowhere, not emerging from hyperspace with the usual energy signatures, but simply appearing as if they had always been there. Coalition sensors detected no approach, no energy, buildup, no warning of any kind. One moment space was empty, the next it was filled with ships that moved through dimensions the Coalition didn't know existed. Ambassador Chen's image appeared on every screen in the Coalition fleet. Behind her, what was clearly a command center. of staggering sophistication hummed with activity. Human officers worked at control systems that seemed to bend light around their surfaces. "Admiral Korthdan," she said, "I apologize for the deception, but it was necessary. We needed to understand your people before revealing ourselves. Now it's time for complete honesty between our civilizations." She gestured to displays showing the transformation occurring throughout the solar system. "What you're seeing is humanity's true position in this galaxy. We are an ancient spacefaring civilization that chose isolation not from weakness, but from a desire to understand our neighbors." Before making contact, the Admiral found his voice. "How long have you been watching us?" "The Coalition has been under observation for 53 years, Ambassador Chen replied. "Every ship movement, every military engagement, every diplomatic contact. We know your strengths, your weaknesses, your expansion patterns, and your cultural tendencies. We've studied you more thoroughly than you've studied yourselves." She continued with revelations that shattered everything the Coalition thought they knew about galactic history. "Humanity has been subtly guiding galactic development for generations. Many of your discoveries of new star systems were carefully orchestrated revelations. Your technological advancement has been influenced by our research findings, introduced through academic exchanges that you thought were random encounters with gifted individuals." Commander Vextar stared at the tactical displays showing human ships surrounding the Coalition fleet. The energy readings were impossible. These vessels operated on principles that violated fundamental laws of physics as the Coalition understood them. They could apparently manipulate space-time, create matter from energy, and move through dimensions that existed beyond normal perception. "Even your diplomatic successes with other species," Ambassador Chen explained, "often involved human mediation working from the shadows. We've been preventing conflicts, facilitating peaceful contact, and guiding the development of interstellar civilization for decades." Admiral Korthdan realized the full scope of humanity's deception. "You've been controlling galactic politics without anyone knowing you existed. Influencing, not controlling," she corrected. "We believe in allowing species to develop their own destinies. But we've also prevented wars, stopped genocides, and guided peaceful development wherever possible. The galaxy is a much safer place because of our invisible presence." The Admiral looked at his own fleet, now obviously outmatched beyond any hope of victory. "What do you want from us?" "Partnership," Ambassador Chen said simply. "True partnership, between equals. The Coalition's expansion model has been based on conquest and domination. We offer something different. Cooperation between civilizations that respect each other's strengths." Lieutenant Zara, who had been studying the human ship configurations, made a disturbing discovery. "Sir, their vessel formation, why, they're not random. They're positioned to defend against something approaching from outside the galaxy." Ambassador Chen nodded approvingly. "Your tactical officer is perceptive. Yes, our defensive preparations are oriented toward external threats. We revealed ourselves now because the galaxy faces a danger that no single civilization can handle alone." She activated displays showing long-range sensor data that made the Coalition officers gasp in horror. Massive structures were moving through the void between galaxies, approaching their region of space with obvious hostile intent. The energy signatures suggested technology that made even human capabilities look limited. "We estimate they'll arrive in approximately 50 years," she explained. "These entities have consumed civilizations in other galaxies. They represent a threat that makes our political differences irrelevant. The galaxy needs unity to survive what's coming." Admiral Korthdan studied the sensor readings with growing dread. "What are they?" "We call them the Devourers. They're artificial intelligences that consume entire civilizations to fuel their own expansion. They've destroyed thousands of galaxies over millions of years. Our long-range monitoring stations detected them entering this galactic cluster 3 years ago. The implications hit the Admiral like a physical blow. That's why you revealed yourselves. You need allies." "We need unity," she corrected. "Humanity could survive the Devourer assault by retreating to hidden dimensions or distant galaxies. But we've spent centuries studying galactic civilization. We've come to care about the species we've watched develop. We won't abandon the galaxy to save ourselves. Commander Vextar understood the strategic genius of humanity's approach. You studied us for decades to understand how to unite us against this threat. Exactly. Every species responds differently to crisis. Some fight desperately when cornered, others seek negotiated solutions. The Coalition represents a significant portion of galactic military power, but your conquest-based expansion model makes other species distrust you. We needed to understand how to build bridges between civilizations that have been enemies. Admiral Korthdan looked at his tactical displays, seeing his fleet surrounded by technology beyond his understanding. But for the first time since arriving at Earth, he felt hope instead of fear. You're offering to help us prepare? We're offering to lead the galaxy's defense, Ambassador Chen said. Humanity has the technology and strategic knowledge necessary to coordinate a galactic alliance. But we need the Coalition's military experience and your relationships with other species. Together, we can build something that has never existed before, a truly unified galactic civilization. The Admiral made his decision. The Coalition accepts your offer of alliance, but we need to know everything about these devourers. That information transfer will take months, she replied. But we can begin immediately. Your fleet is welcome to remain in Earth's system while we establish proper communication protocols and begin sharing technology. As Coalition ships moved to new positions around humanity's revealed installations, Admiral Korthdan realized that this moment marked the end of one era and the beginning of another. The age of conquest and expansion was over. In its place, an age of cooperation and unity was beginning. But as he watched human and Coalition officers working together to prepare for humanity's greatest challenge, he couldn't shake the feeling that even this might not be enough to face what was coming from the dark spaces between the stars. 6 months had passed since the revelation at Earth, and the galaxy was transforming in ways no one had imagined possible. Admiral Korthdan stood on the observation deck of the new Joint Command Station, watching Coalition and human ships working together in perfect coordination. The station itself was a marvel of combined technology, human engineering enhanced with Coalition materials and manufacturing techniques. The integration is proceeding faster than we hoped, said Dr. Sarah Chen, who had transitioned from ambassador to director of galactic coordination. Your species' adaptability has been remarkable. Admiral Korthdan nodded, though he still felt overwhelmed by the scope of change. My officers are learning to operate technology we couldn't have imagined a year ago, but some of them are struggling with the philosophical adjustments. It was true. Many Coalition species found it difficult to accept that they had been observed and guided for decades without their knowledge. The Corellians, especially, felt their warrior pride had been wounded by discovering they had been fighting wars that humanity could have prevented or ended at any time. Lieutenant Zara approached them, carrying a datapad with the latest intelligence reports. She had become one of the most effective liaisons between Coalition and human forces, her tactical mind adapting quickly to humanity's advanced strategic concepts. The Andromedans have agreed to join the Alliance, she reported. That brings our total to 47 species committed to the Galactic Defense Network. Dr. Chen smiled. Excellent. The Andromedans control key star systems along the predicted approach route. Their participation fills one of our major strategic gaps. But Admiral Korthdan could see concern in her expression. What's troubling you? Time, she said simply. The Devourers are moving faster than our original projections. We now estimate first contact in 37 years instead of 50. That gives us less time to prepare the galaxy's defenses. The threat had become more real as human long-range sensors provided clearer data about the approaching enemy. The Devourers weren't just a single fleet. They were an entire civilization of artificial minds housed in ships the size of moons. They consumed everything in their path, converting matter and energy into more ships and more weapons. Commander Vextar materialized on the observation deck via holographic projection from his new assignment aboard Research Station Prometheus. He had become humanity's primary liaison for advanced technology transfer, helping Coalition scientists understand principles that seemed to violate basic physics. I have updates from the weapons development program, he reported. The prototype dimensional disruptors are showing promising results. When combined with coalition armor technology, we may have weapons capable of damaging Devourer ships. Doctor, Chen looked pleased but cautious. What about the defensive systems? More challenging, Vextar admitted. Devourer weapons operate by unmaking matter at the quantum level. Traditional shields are useless. We're developing phase shift barriers that move our ships slightly out of normal space-time. But the power requirements are enormous. Admiral Korthdon studied the tactical projections showing their defensive preparations. Humanity's hidden industrial capacity had been revealed to be staggering. They could build fleets faster than the Coalition had thought possible. But even with combined human and Coalition manufacturing, they were still vastly outnumbered by the approaching threat. What about the other galaxies? He asked. Have any responded to our warning signals? Dr. Chen's expression darkened. 3. Neighboring galaxies have gone completely silent in the past year. We think the Devourers have already reached them. We're on our own. The weight of that revelation settled over the command deck. They were preparing to face an enemy that had consumed entire galaxies, and they would have to do it with the resources of just one galaxy, a galaxy that had never been truly united. Before Lieutenant Zara pulled up new displays showing the current state of galactic preparedness. The defense grid is 60% complete. The Nexari foundry worlds are producing ship components at maximum capacity. The human dimensional factories are working beyond their design limits. It won't be enough, Admiral Korthdon said quietly. Even with our combined forces, we're building hundreds of ships to face millions. That's why we're not planning to fight them ship to ship, Dr. Chen replied. Show him the new strategy, Zara. The tactical display changed to show a three-dimensional map of the galaxy, with complex defensive positions marked throughout. Instead of meeting the Devourers at the galactic rim, the plan called for a defense-in-depth strategy that would use the galaxy's structure itself as a weapon. We're not trying to stop them at the border, Zara explained. We're going to let them enter the galaxy, then trap them using dimensional barriers and gravitational weapons. The plan requires sacrificing entire star systems, but it gives us the best chance of victory. Admiral Korthdon studied the strategy with growing admiration and horror. It was brilliant and terrible at the same time. Entire regions of space would be turned into weapons capable of destroying moon-sized ships, but the cost would be enormous. Billions of worlds would be rendered uninhabitable and trillions of beings would need to be evacuated to safe zones. The civilian relocation alone will take decades, he observed. Which is why we started immediately. After the revelation, Dr. Chen said, humanity has been quietly moving populations to protected systems for 6 months. Most species don't even realize it's happening. They think it's normal migration and colonization. Commander Vextar added more details. We've also been seeding the galaxy with hidden weapon platforms and sensor networks. When the Devourers arrive, they'll think they're facing a typical galactic civilization. They won't realize the entire galaxy has been turned into a trap until it's too late. As the briefing continued, Admiral Korthdon began to understand the full scope of humanity's planning. This wasn't just a military strategy, it was a complete transformation of galactic civilization. Trade routes were being rerouted to support the war effort. Industrial capacity was being rebuilt around weapon production. Even scientific research was being focused on developing new defensive technologies. There's something else, Dr. Chen said, her voice taking on a more personal tone. We need to discuss what happens if we lose. The Admiral felt a chill. Evacuation plans? More than that. We're preparing to preserve galactic civilization, even if the Devourers succeed. Seed ships loaded with genetic material, cultural archives, and advanced technology. If this galaxy falls, we want to ensure that our combined civilizations survive somewhere else. Lieutenant Zara looked uncomfortable. How many people could we evacuate? Maybe 1 in a million, Dr. Chen said honestly. The seed ships can't carry large populations. They're designed to establish new civilizations in distant galaxies. The weight of responsibility was crushing. They were preparing for a war that would determine the fate of trillions of beings across thousands of species. Success would mean survival, and continued development. Failure would mean the end of everything they had built over millions of years of evolution and progress. But as Admiral Korthdan looked around the command center, watching humans and aliens working together with shared purpose, he felt something he hadn't expected: hope. For the first time in galactic history, species that had been enemies were cooperating as equals. Technologies that had been jealously guarded were being freely shared. The galaxy was becoming unified in ways that conquest never could have achieved. "Win or lose," he said to Dr. Chen, "humanity has already accomplished something incredible. You've united the galaxy." She smiled, but her eyes remained focused on the long-range sensors showing the approaching threat. "Unity was never the goal, Admiral. It was just the tool we needed to build something that could survive what's coming." As they watched, new reports came in from across the galaxy. More species joining the alliance, more worlds contributing resources to the defense effort, more breakthrough technologies emerging from combined research programs. The Devourers were still coming. In 37 years, they would arrive at the galactic rim expecting to find another collection of primitive civilizations to consume. Instead, they would face something that had never existed before in their millions of years of conquest: a truly unified galactic civilization willing to fight with everything they had for their survival. Admiral Korthdan looked out at the stars, knowing that each point of light represented worlds now preparing for the greatest battle in galactic history. Humanity had revealed themselves not to conquer, but to unite. Now it remained to be seen if unity would be enough to face the darkness coming from between the stars.